part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Chase. Before we get to the NBA trade deadline chatter, I just wanted to say thank you to you so much for downloading and listening to the Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Your support over the last couple of weeks has meant so much to us and has been so exciting to see this podcast rise up the charts. So we just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow this podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a review. Give us a 5-star rating. It doesn't really matter or mean anything, but it does matter and mean something to us. So that would just mean the world. And if you like these conversations, we have a ton of other shows available on the Press Play Podcast Network. Tyvis Powell and Holly Wetzel are hosting the Orange or Browns podcast. If you like the Browns, make sure to check that podcast out. They have a lot of offseason plans. It's going to be great. We have on the network Kenny Rhoda and Michael Regai bringing R&R back. If you a huge fan of the WKNR days back in the day, make sure to check that out. Dennis Maniloff was on the network with the Dennis Maniloff Show. And then we are rebranding our Cleveland baseball podcast. We have incredible things in store. John Sable and his brother Scott have their own podcast, Sable Brothers on the Baseline, which is just incredible. And John hosts this podcast every other week. Needless to say, if you like Cleveland sports or sports talk in general, make sure to check our shows and what we have out. We also have a college basketball podcast, the Full 40 college basketball podcast with Taylor Vanderbilt. It is it's inaugural season here, and we're ramping up to March Madness. You'll be hearing from him over these next couple months, and just a lot of great things in store. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for downloading and listening and supporting the show. And without further ado, let's get to a lot to talk about in the trade deadline. Cavs didn't do a lot of work, but a lot of the other teams did. So Sam, Jeremy, and I just for a few moments hopped on and talked about what that meant for the Cavs and what that looks like for us the last half of the season. So hope you guys enjoy.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, he's the NBA writer for hoopswire.com, the assisting managing editor at Outkick.com. He's our Cavs insider, national NBA writer, Sam Amico. Sam, busy day, man, busy day.
It was a busy day for HoopsWire. Yes, indeed it was. I think I've written 19 posts, done 2 videos and podcasts, but it wasn't a busy day for the Cavs, and that's okay, but we'll get into that in a second.
Also joining us, he is getting ready to go to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Jeremy and Akron.
Here.
Bro, congratulations.
Let's go.
What a really cool honor, man, to be recognized by the Browns for this incredible shoe
awesome,
drive
man.
that you do. Very, very well deserved. And your coaching. Jeremy, congratulations, man.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it was biggest shock of my life to get an email 2 weeks ago that told me I was a finalist for Super Bowl tickets. I didn't even know I was entered for Super Bowl tickets. I wrote an essay, and the next morning I found out I was going. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, and it's like almost like surreal that tomorrow morning I'm getting on a plane to LA.
Jeremy, if someone told you in April and if someone told you in August that OBJ was going to be playing in a Super Bowl, a team from Ohio was going to be playing in the Super Bowl, and you were going, what are the odds you would say the Browns would be in the Super Bowl?
I would be 99.9%.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
I was thinking too, Chase. You know what's crazy? I went to the draft this year too. So the same year, 2 things I've always wanted to do.
Wow.
Go to the draft and go to the Super Bowl, and they're all happening in the same year. That's pretty crazy.
Well, good for you. And,
awesome.
And this is the second straight episode we've led with Browns talk. My Myles Garrett joke in the last episode crashed and burned like hardcore. No one appreciated it, and no one cares because the Cavs are here, and the Cavs are good. We're not even going to talk about their victory over the Spurs and what that looked like, because today was a big day. Sam, you touched on it right a few moments ago. The NBA trade deadline came and went today at 3:00. This is recording this on Thursday night. And the Cavs did not make a move. The Cavs decided to stay put. They held their cards, at least for now. Kobe Altman decides not to make any additional moves to the team, but the rest of the league took notice. They saw what the Cavs were doing, and they were shaking in their boots. They said, we cannot let the Cavs be this good. Quite a trade deadline. Sam, help it all make sense. Can you just recap quickly some of, like, as many of the trades as you can before I cut you off?
Sure. I would say, which I'm used to, by the way. But I think that, obviously Philly and the Nets, everybody knows about that one, the Harden-Simmons trade. That's the biggest one. I like what the Celtics did. Unfortunately, by getting Derek White from the Spurs was a really nice move he's a very underrated player, pretty good defender. Everybody else was pretty much, the Cavs don't have to worry about it too much right now. I mean, like the Wizards getting Porzingis, who's still a pretty decent player. I didn't think he was until I looked up his stats when I wrote the story, and I'm like, yeah, he's still got it. So really, you're talking about the big one would be the Sixers getting Harden, and more than that, to me, even is the Nets not only getting Ben Simmons, who we're all assuming is going to play now, to team with Kyrie and Durant, and when Durant's healthy, and then they got Drummond and they got Seth Curry, who are going to be really nice bench players in Brooklyn. So I think that's the team that's going to be really on the rise. And I think the Sixers are going to be so much better because they didn't have Ben Simmons and they've been playing pretty well, and now they got Harden. So those are things that the Cavs are going to have to pay attention to. And more than anything, though, to me, the Cavs just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about the other teams or what they're going to do, because we've seen that it doesn't always work just because you have big names. I mean, look at the Los Angeles Lakers, right? They're an absolute mess. So I don't suspect that's going to happen with these teams. But at the same time, if you're the Cavs, just keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to be in contention with everybody if you keep playing the way you're playing.
Yeah, so we had the big Sixers Nets trade, obviously Simmons and Kyrie, but the Celtics got a little bit better today too, Sam. They were making moves. The Celtics are trying to figure out how to salvage this season. The Bucks, I think, with a really underrated move, bringing in Serge Ibaka. I just think a lot of these teams made some because of the Simmons Harden trade, kind of these other under the radar moves that I think is going to make life really, really hard for the Cavs in the postseason. Jeremy, before we talk about the Celtics and what the Bucks did and all that stuff, your initial thoughts to the Nets and 76ers trade?
I think it's very interesting. I'm not 100% sure the Nets got a lot better. We'll see what Simmons does. I mean, maybe he comes out and he's fantastic and I'm completely wrong, but I don't know. And the same thing with the Sixers. I hate Harden's game. I think he's the most boring superstar in the history of basketball. He's dribble, like talked about this before. Dribble, shoot, dribble, foul. I don't know. But Embiid is having an MVP year, and adding him to the mix when you're getting literally zero out of Simmons, and he wasn't going to come back and play. It remains to be seen. Maybe it'll be a home run. To me, I don't know. I think with both these trades, we sort of got to wait it out and see. I don't think you can have an instant reaction. I think it's going to take about 2 weeks to see where these trades are and how they're going to affect each team. But I think Sam's absolutely right. And I know you said we get into it in a second, but I think the Celtics I could not believe they landed White today. I can't believe it. That's a guy that I believe he was on the select team with Darius Garland. He's a guy that's kind of under the radar that can play. The Celtics worry me. They've won 6 in a row. They're hot right now. The team has players. They're, they started out slow, but they're peaking at the right time. Throw him in the mix. I'm worried about the Celtics. I'll be honest. I think the Celtics are going to be a problem. I think with the Nets and the Sixers, we're going to have to wait and see. Give it 2 weeks, and then we'll see.
Yeah, I love the trade for the Nets and the 76ers. I was talking to Sam before you hopped on, Jeremy. I think the Cavs, even though they traded for LeVert a couple of days ago, I think they lost today. I think all the teams that were either better or above them, and I'm doing air quotes, I think every single one of those teams got better. I think the Nets got better. I love Ben Simmons' fit up there in Brooklyn. I think the 76ers got better. I love Harden's fit in Philly. I think the Celtics got better. No, I love it. I absolutely can't wait to see what Doc stores up there. I think the Bucks got better. I think the only team that did not get better today, trade deadline, was the Cavs. And I know you guys crushed me a couple of days ago for saying this. I think the LeVert move of all those moves, then we didn't talk about Celtics. I don't think the Bulls really did anything. But I think that's going to be the lowest impact move compared to these other teams. That's just me. I don't know. Sam, are you a big fan of the 76ers Nets trade?
Well, yeah, I think both those teams got better, but I think the Cavs got significantly better too with LeVert. And I think the Cavs have an opportunity to do what they've been doing all season long, which is their big guys creating havoc. We've got two, if you're the Cavs, you're saying we've got two very talented big men, okay? We've got Allen, we've got Mobley. Markkanen can play when he comes back and is healthy. Got Love coming off the bench, having really, his best year as a reserve. You have LeVert now, obviously Darius Garland, and then you have Okoro. The Cavs aren't winning games because they're so star-studded or look so good on paper. It's because they're a good fit together. They play well together, and they really are a team in the truest sense. And they really have a bona fide all-star in Darius Garland. They have a guy who should be an all-star in Jared Allen, and they have really the equivalent of the rookie of the year. He's going to win it is in Evan Mobley. So, I don't
even think it's a discussion with that, honestly.
Right. And you're not, if you're the Cavs, you're not looking at it like this is supposed to be our year. This is supposed to be the year we're going to go all the way. You're looking at it like we are way better than anybody thought. We are winning games and beating people that people say we can't. So we're not going to worry about what the other teams are doing. We're going to keep doing our thing. Mm-hmm. And I do think for sure on paper, the Brooklyn Nets got better. You just,
and also for Philly to trade Simmons and not get rid of Thibault or Maxey was pretty impressive as well.
Right. Yes. That, for the Sixers, for sure. I don't know what Harden's got left and how well he and Embiid are going to mix.
Oh, I'm buying all the Harden stock. I'll buy it all.
There could be, well, sure. He's been a great individual player, but I don't know, when it comes down to winning time, how much he's going to win. Now, I think that those teams are fantastic. I was watching before we started talking. I was watching a rematch of the finals between the Bucks and the Suns. The Bucks look fabulous all year, guys. I will say this. I hope I'm wrong, but since I've seen the Cavs rise, I think that they are ripe to get into the playoffs and regardless of who they play, lose in the first round because young teams don't win in the playoffs, and that's right. Okay. You just want a taste of it. So, you know what? Let these teams do their thing, and if you're the Cavs, you just keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you're going to pass those teams.
This is what I love about the Cavs. All right. I know you're here, like Chase, you're the most optimistic person. You didn't like the LeVert trade, or you didn't like it as much as everyone else. And now you're saying they lost today. Here's what I love about the Cavs. Aside from their team chemistry and how likable they are and how much everyone else in the league loves them, LeBron couldn't wait to select Darius Garland on his team, right? Like that was like, okay, what's going on here? Don't read too much into that, people. It's just is what it is. The Cavs have a lot of players to throw at a lot of players. So what I mean by that is we can match up against the Bucks and throw players and length and defense at Giannis. We can match up against the Nets and throw players and length at KD. We can match up against Philly and really torment Harden on the perimeter and at least have length with Embiid. The Cavs have this really incredible team. Someone mentioned John Sable, our other co-host here. You guys were talking about that the end of the big three era is over. That is kind of coming to an end, which I think is an incredible insight. And someone on Twitter, I don't have in front of me, said that so the teams are going to be more like the Pistons. They had a Rasheed Wallace gif. And this team does have this kind of like weird hybrid mix of Detroit defense and Golden State offense. Like it's this really, really fun conglomeration to see. And so that's what I like is that they have a lot of players. And because of all these big moves, secondly, because of all these big moves today, all of a sudden the Cavs are under the radar again, right? No one's going to be talking about the Cavs because, oh, look at Ben Simmons. Oh, look at Harden. Oh, look at what the Celtics did. Oh, and the Bucks. Like all of a sudden the Cavs are not on everyone's radar, which I think serves this team best. Jeremy, can we at least agree on those couple points together?
Yeah, and I think it was me that actually declared the big three dead on our last episode.
Sure, if that's what you want. That's Jeremy said the big three.
It is, and you know what? And I agree 100%. I actually was going to say, no one knew Golden State was Golden State before Golden State was Golden State, and we might be Golden State. You know, the only reason the fans are reluctant to say it is because we're the Cavs. Because the only time we've won in the past 25 years is having LeBron James. So building this without LeBron James, I think why some Cavs fans are reluctant to say it, but we really might be. You know what? The Cavs are now number 1 in the league in scoring defense by 2 points in the East and 1 in the West. We're tied for the best point differential per game in the Eastern Conference. Okay, it's not a mirage. There's only 27 games left. Our defense really is that good. When you have Mobley and Allen in the game, no one wants to try them. No one wants to go to the hoop because no one wants to get embarrassed. The defense really is that good. And I think that if Karis LeVert does buy in the way it looks like he's going to buy in and play the role that we need him to play, we're a legit team. Now, that all being said, Sam might be right. We might go out and go get swept in the first round of the playoffs. Who knows? But the fact that we have a defense that is this good and rim protectors that are this good is going to give us a fighting chance at it. Okay. And we talked about this the other day with our oldest core player being 27 years old. This is built for now and built for the future. Yeah. And maybe, you know, it is always going to be tough for us to add a big name guy in free agency. That's why the Cavs always have to get creative with player acquisition, which we've done. And Kobe's done really well these last couple of years.
Yep.
So even if we do lose the first round, I don't think you can call it a disappointment. I think if we win 50 games, we make the playoffs, we give a run in the first round, it's still a success, and we build from it going forward. But I think that your thought there that maybe we're a mix of the Pistons and the Warriors is actually something I was actually thinking of. So good call there, Chase.
Well, no,
I agree.
I'll give that thought to you too. You probably thought that and said that as well. So we're all just riding your
listen. I know that you played college basketball. Okay, I know that. No.
What do I know? I only played college basketball.
Anything that's smart or wise on this podcast that comes from Jeremy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question.
Jeremy's never going to allow me to live that college basketball remark down. That's so funny.
It was probably your best line of the 200 shows we've done together.
Oh, wow. Sam, so what does this mean for the Cavs, Sam? What does today mean and all the other moves in the East? What does that mean for the Cavs?
Well, first of all, Jeremy, I didn't say they'd get swept in the first round. They would probably lose. And I hope I'm wrong. And it all depends on matchup. But as far as what it means for the Cavs is, you know, obviously you're going to have these veteran teams, okay? Embiid and Harden, those guys have played in some really big playoff games. So is Ben Simmons. So is Kyrie and Durant. I mean, all those guys have played
Giannis.
either finals games, won championships, or played in big games. They know how to play playoff basketball, which is typically a little bit slower pace, a little bit more physical. The refs will let you get away with more. But to me, you know, like Jeremy just said, okay, you throw Mobley and Allen out there, and then you have a healthy Markkanen too, who does create some distractions on defense. So teams just don't like going to the basket. They don't like going to the basket against the Cavs. And then now you have LeVert, who, you know, has some size at the guard position. You have Okoro, you have Lamar Stevens, you have, you know, guys that you can keep throwing, like you said, Chase, at these other players. So if they just continue their defensive intensity and the way they've been playing defense, and that's what's kept them in games when guys have been hurt. So, you know, if they continue to play what is really the equivalent of playoff basketball, then they could be okay come playoff time, regardless of who they play. But, you know, for me, those teams, obviously, I think you got to give it time, because to me, just because you look great on paper doesn't always mean great success. So
you're right. I mean, that one Lakers team
don't look as good, right? The Cavs don't look as good on paper as the Los Angeles Lakers, but guess who's a lot better, you know? So I think you just got to give it time. And if you're the Cavs, All you got to do is keep doing what you're doing, and you'll learn from it, grow from it, and maybe pull an upset or two in the playoffs.
I mean, the classic look great on paper to fail expectations was the old Lakers team in like 2003. It was like Gary Payton, Karl Malone, Shaq, Kobe, like the last Shaq and Kobe year.
Yep.
Yeah.
2004. Well,
2004.
gosh, you think about the Cavs when they got Shaq and some of those other guys, and they won 66 games. And guess what? They lost to a team in Orlando that really wasn't supposed to give them a run in the playoffs, and Orlando ended up beating them because they played better as a team.
And
so
steroids. Oh, we don't talk about that, right?
No, and that was
we won't bring that up unless Jeremy says it.
Michael Pietrus got extremely hot. Hidu Turkoglu and Michael Pietrus from the corner. It was like
every one of those
Groundhog
games.
Day. Oh my
God. So Jeremy, wrapping up here, what do you expect from this Cavs team and from the East throughout the last half of the season here?
Well, I mean, even though I'm in wait and see mode on both those deals, I mean, it looks like both teams are stronger, right? And Boston is hot, not to mention Toronto, who's also won 6 in a row. Toronto's hot. It's going to be a dogfight down the stretch. I think what I see, the Cavs have to go like 16-11 or whatever to get to 50 wins right now. I expect them to get to 50 wins. I think they'll get to 52 wins like we talked the other day. And we'll see how everything plays out. Look, we'll see what shakes out. I can tell you this, though. This team thinks they're good. This team thinks they belong. This team plays defense. This team plays as a team. This team loves each other. This team loves and respects its coach. This organization is all aligned. So, hey, who knows? Did you think the Phoenix Suns were going to go to the finals last year? No, nobody thought the Phoenix Suns were going to go to the finals.
Did we think the Cavs were going to win 30 games this year?
No.
No,
nobody did. How many people do you think before the season started, the over-under was 26? I bet the money was on the under, you know? So yeah.
I've been high on this Cavs core since, I mean, I never expected this. I never expected Mobley to be this good this quick. I've also was high on the Suns. Anyway, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I only play college basketball. What do I know? But Sam, what do you expect from the East? Which, by the way, Jeremy, I wanted to run through a brick wall there, man. You're right. It is incredibly exciting. Sam, what do you see happening with the Cavs in the East this last half of the season, with now that kind of the dust is beginning to settle?
Well, the obviously you want to stay healthy. You want all your key guys to stay healthy. And if that happens, to me, they have the depth to match up with these other teams because, you're talking about bringing Love off the bench. I'm assuming when Markkanen comes back, you're going to be bringing Okoro off the bench. You've got some experience and guys who would be starters in other places that'll be coming off the bench. And I think that's going to help your depth, and when you have depth and you have the kind of, as Jeremy just said, kind of that camaraderie that they have and that they do like their coach and they're drama free. I don't know that you can say that about some of these other teams. The Bucks certainly are, but you talk about the Sixers or the Nets. They always seem to have their little dramas when there's too many stars in the locker room, can create some drama, maybe not amongst the stars themselves, but just the guys around them, the coaches. It's tough to coach a superstar. So when you have more than one, it can be a difficult thing. But, look, when Durant comes back, I suspect the Nets are probably going to they've lost 10 straight now. So I don't know if they're going to overtake and finish with the top seed, but they'll be the team to beat probably. But I look at, Milwaukee, the Nets, and the 76ers, to me, are the three teams with the most experience that have the most going for them headed into the playoffs. And then the rest of the teams, the Chicagos, the Clevelands, the Bostons, Toronto, which, as Jeremy said, has been playing fantastic for some reason. And you figure those teams will be in the mix for 4 through 6. And I just think anything's possible with this team because we wrote them off at the beginning of the year and look at what they've done.
Yeah.
They hit a little tough patch there that we thought was gonna do them in, or at least I kind of did. I thought, well, they're showing some bad signs here, and they rebounded from that. And then they went out and got LeVert after losing Rubio and Sexton. So I'm not going to count them out in any situation or against any lineup that has a lot bigger names in it.
Yeah, I think you guys are spot on. Looking at the standings, the Cavs are fourth, but below them, the 76ers, the Celtics, the Nets. I would expect over these next couple months before the end of the season, couple weeks, that you do see 76ers, Nets, and Celtics make a move, and probably just off of their experience and youth that the Cavs would probably drop from the top half of the East. You look at the teams that are selling, the Pacers, the Wizards, like you already almost have your bottom four teams right now. And as long as we can stay better and, above the Hornets, Hawks, and Knicks, almost guaranteed not even a play-in game. And so barring a major injury or a disaster, it's looking like the Cavs have set themselves up for a great last half of the season to work through some of these like endurance and experience. So I would expect maybe a little drop off, but like I said, I think the LeVert trade, it raises our floor, right? It makes the kind of play that we're playing now sustainable. And so I also would not be surprised if we stay in the 3-4 spot and the Nets do some load management and the Raptors drop and the 76ers probably rise a little bit. Maybe the Bulls
could drop too. In there.
Yeah.
Bulls.
Yeah. So, who knows what will happen? Here's what I do know. The East is stacked and no one wants to see the Cavs in playoffs. They'd rather play a Toronto or an Atlanta or probably even a Charlotte. They're like, ooh, I don't want to play what's going up in Cleveland. I don't want to go to the Rock and play because that place, Jeremy, is rocking against the Spurs, huh? Yes. Jeremy, I don't know if we got to talk about this in the last pod. You said it hadn't been like that since when?
LeBron days. It hadn't been since his first time through, I think, when there was still that new excitement and it was crazy. It's kind of that same feel now. Another point, Chase, we still play Philadelphia 4 times.
Yeah.
We play the 76ers 4 times in these last 27-ish games that we have left. That's going to be very interesting. And I actually can't wait to see it because let me bring up a one small point. We talked about
one more, then we got to go.
I know we ran 2 7-footers. We ran 2 7-footers at Greek Freak at Giannis, and it really flustered him in the second half of that game. A guy who'd been a Cavs killer in the past is Sabonis on Indiana. We ran 2 guys at him that whole second half and flustered him, and he didn't do anything in the second half of that game. The Cavs are kind of uniquely, I don't say qualified. We're uniquely
built. We're uniquely built.
We're uniquely built to run to fluster big guys.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see what we do with Embiid. Our big guys are athletic and they can get in your face and we can run to them at you. So it's going to be real interesting to see how the Sixers handle that and how the Cavs are able to stack up against them. I think they can stack up against them. Well, I don't know. We'll see. He's an incredible player. He in my opinion, he's the MVP right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And we got 4 games to go against them. So it's going to be a fun few weeks here, buddy.
Like I said, we have players with players and they're versatile and you can't teach length. Right. That's another basketball phrase. You can't teach length. Defense translates, defense travels. We can throw all these college basketball phrases that I learned when I was on the road. But no, it's going to be a ton of fun and we're all here for it. And that does it for this episode of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. This is how we do. Follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his works and writings at hoopswire.com. Go to hoopswire.com. Go there. Check it out for all your breaking news, insider info. Do not miss out. And hey, if you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed, do us a favor. Just hit that little plus button. Subscribe to the Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. We'd love for you to join us all season long. Sam, any final thoughts, brother?
Yeah, one final thought. I am excited about this final stretch of the NBA season and the Cavs season as I've been in a decade. So it should be a lot of fun.
Jeremy, safe travels in the morning, man, on the way to LA. And as penance, you have to do the out call with Mike Breen.
Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.